because we accept what's, nobody looks down on it, because it's available, it's the entitlement idea or whatever. How do we apply it? What should we say no thank you to? Even though so many around us are taking it, and we say, I'm not taking it. And how will that spill over to influence more people so they see a solution could be had by following our example?
Or
Complicated question. I don't know if
A
you
great question.
And even an example of that is, what if the government is returning some of our own money?
they do that sometimes.
Yeah, and we're supposed to say thank you very much. That was mine in the first place.
They want you to just spend it
But-
a certain way.
But by taking that money, are we encouraging them to still have this benevolent kind of, oh, I'm going to return this money to you?
That's the
And you're
problem.
supposed to say thank you very much.
That's the problem. They don't label it as returning your money. It's
Large
We are
mass.
providing.
it's a benefit, right?
From
Look at
the
the
entity
gift
of-
we are
The
giving
goodness
you.
of government.
But you're exactly right. Thank you very much. That was going to be good. You know, that's how I feel. But yeah, it's never returned, right? It's almost, they have conditioned us to think that they're giving us something.
I thought about that too and thought how easy it is for me to stand on principle about not accepting certain benefits from the government because I don't care about them anyway, or because we're financially well enough off, not that we're hugely rich, but well enough that we don't need that particular benefit, and then it's easy to just say no thanks. But I thought, well,
Like food stamps.
yeah. But then, I mean, when we get talking about some other things where there's a fine line that I don't understand completely, locally, and we talk about the care tax, well, I still want to go to the theater. I'll still pay for my ticket, but then I think, am I supporting the theater, and that means I'm supporting this sneaky way of the care tax? Well, I don't really want to give up going to plays sometimes, you know. And so I think it's a tricky question, and I don't understand. I don't know exactly how much of the theater is I'm paying for what I get versus other people are, and so I don't know the answer on that one, and I keep going to Hale, but that's a good question when
Going
it hits
where?
to
Oh, to
Hale.
Hale.
To Hale.
The Hale set.
My sons love to go there. They do that all the time. We're going to Hale, Mom.
Right. That's really
Got
good. But I mean, when it hits closer to home, I mean, if we talked about my mom
Like
and
the
I were even
library.
talking about the library, we were, because if you tell me I should on principle not take advantage of the library, that's going to be a huge lifestyle change for me. And I guess I could buy every book I read, but oh my God.
You and I would get to be really good friends.
Yes,
We
we
would-
would everything. But well, and I mean, it's true. We probably could if we needed to.
And you
get to
would.
where we would get a network
I guess
together
there
where we
is.
would.
I guess
Stop
there
it, but
there would be a place for private libraries.
Well, sure,
There
somebody
now.
would see the need and say, I'm going to invest in this idea and see if it goes over.
but I don't
And
see
then
you
for-
stopping. I'm not trying to point fingers, but I mean, we still take advantage of the library in
Yeah.
this home. We do.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Your question is great, and even more poignant is how do we say no thank you on the ones that hit closer to home? We can talk about
Yeah.
the ones that don't apply.
You can have a public library, you just can't have other people pay for it. If the people that use it pay for it, it doesn't matter if it's private or public.
Right.
It's not coming at another person's expense.
But are there public libraries that only the people that use it pay for it?
Probably not today.
Yeah, I know.
Because-
So I mean,
because
it is
but
out
we
of
could.
harmony with principle right now.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it is.
yeah, this is a principle a lot of people don't think about. Even Jefferson, right? He started the University of Virginia, but it wasn't paid for through bonds or through welfare. No, it was paid for by tuition,
Yeah.
and so it doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't infringe on anyone else's ability to compete with it. It doesn't. So
And
I'm
it
fine with
doesn't
the public
infringe-
Right,
library.
And
Public
it doesn't
things are fine.
infringe on the freedom of the university to teach what is true.
Sure.
Once you get into having it be public, as in paid for by the state, then the state gets to regulate what's taught there is true.
Sure.
So
But and
so it always affects us in some way.
but it would be awesome if it was paid for by the people that use it.
Right,
and not-
tuition, that's what it's supposed to be.
then it would be subject to market forces. So if
Right.
enough people said, hey, we
Yes.
don't like that you don't have prayers here, we'll go over here. Then they actually have to wait. Okay, prayers because we want this thing to sustain itself. If not, it dies just like anyone else, and that's fine. The government itself doesn't die. Just this sector, this little piece of it that's not needed anymore.
To your question, I've had the same question because I have sat right at the church. I'm gonna go here.
Go for it.
I have sat in church councils where there are needy people that need to be cared for, and had the leaders say, check and see what the public assistance available is. And that seems completely opposite of the principles of the gospel.
Yeah.
And yet they say that's what the direction is that we're supposed to do, is check on what's available for them. So how does that work?
But originally, when the welfare program,
I'm just gonna call it what it is.
when the welfare program of the church was instituted, they always said,
Avoid the dole. Don't take.
that, and they said, you're primarily responsible, your family next, definitely not the government first.
Well,
And that's it.
But in the
Personally,
church, right?
family, church.
And I
didn't
feel
know the
like
church ever went
Yeah.
to the government.
yes.
No, but some selected leaders see it as a
But
resource.
you're saying
I'm
that's
not
in
sure
the,
they should.
that's in the leadership
official.
handbook, that's what they
I'm gonna have
need
to ask if it's in the
Right.
handbook, but I have 2 different bishops I've had tell me, or I've sat,
in councils.
yeah, where they have said, where we were trying to take care of it without going that direction, but they have said we need to check and see what's available publicly. And I just, I
It's
don't
terrible.
get that.
And that's not.
Did you speak up?
Well, it's delicate. Yeah.
No,
But-
I didn't. I mean,
But
I
I don't
should
know,
have. I
It
didn't
comes,
challenge it to the degree of saying, is that in the handbook? But maybe I should have.
Maybe
because now
privately you could,
Yeah.
I'm really
I would be
curious.
interested.
I'm a little uncomfortable going into this part about church councils, just to let you know. I'm feeling a little bit of discomfort. I prefer to get back to the principles. And I'm also a little uncomfortable with they or the government, because I think our objective here is for us to learn how to apply the principles for ourselves. So I just want to let you know that could we maybe get back on to discussing the principles and how we can apply them, what we can do ourselves to ensure the freedom in our homes, in our lives, in our country.
So what I should have done is say something. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I was not on that council. I don't know anything about it. So I don't know.
Well, you
But
could
that's
always,
part of my life.
That's
Yeah,
a principle
true.
of
I mean, you're talking
that's
about
a
how do we
principle of the
apply
gospel.
this, and I'm
Exactly.
saying,
And that's a principle of the gospel that needs to be applied. So, and I think his,
but we
I think
still
his,
respect the leaders and go with their
Well,
advice too.
but I think what he said was perfect, that personally, you could have gone to that leader and said, can you show
Can
me
you
the
explain
handbook?
me this?
Can you
Yeah.
show me in the handbook where that changed?
Okay.
Because I'm having difficulty with that, or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to bring
Doing
it up
some
in
research
council
your own
and,
self,
and
whatever. Which is why I did.
confront
I mean,
it.
Yeah.
But you could certainly ask the leader, I'm not understanding this, can you help me understand?
or even have an appointment with the bishop privately and
Right.
tell him your concern.
In that, coming from that direction. I'm not
Because
sure I
to me,
understand
that's part of
this.
applying, helping other people see these principles
Yes.
and
Yeah.
living them. And that's just one setting where we encounter that. And that's with people that we would expect
To have the same principles.
to see these principles. But because our society in general doesn't, and we don't necessarily spend a lot of time on this viewpoint of it, when we learn the gospel, people don't always make the connection.